welcome to this special episode of the Contemplating Resonance podcast, which, if you've been with me since the beginning, you will recognize as the setting for episode number 1 of season 1, which I recorded opportunistically at my first annual spiritual retreat that took place the first weekend of January in 2024. I am recording this the weekend of January 17th, 18th, and 19th in 2025, once again at St. Margaret's Hermitage, which is a lovely tiny little cabin at a retreat center, I'd say just outside of Bartlett, Tennessee. And it's actually quite cold. It has been snow flurrying all morning. Didn't have that weather at all last year that I recall. But of course, there was still snow on the ground here as well, left over from the big storm that came through earlier this month. And so when I was out walking around yesterday, saw quite a few remnants of that. Anyway, I thought since I recorded a podcast on the fly last year, that since I'm doing this retreat again, it only made sense to record another podcast to sort of cap off the weekend. So it's Sunday morning and I am just wrapping up all of my planned activities for this weekend. So before I kind of get into the results, let me kind of just walk you through what I've been up to. So got here Friday evening and really just unpacked everything, set up my altar, set up my rest of my stuff, got everything put away and just kind of settled in. Didn't really have a lot planned. Ended up spending about an hour watching an introduction to Chaos Magick by Azrael Flame. That was a free bonus from a workshop that I attended in the spring months of 2024. I tell people this all the time, that I buy books that I think I will need later. I will pick up tickets to summits and buy the replay forever because I will most likely need something from that summit at some time in the future. And lo and behold, this was the perfect weekend to start watching that class for a couple of reasons. One, I've been struggling with the notion of chaos lately and something deep inside of me really wanting to control that chaos. And so what I've learned in the last year is that when something gives me struggles, I need to lean into that, not push it away, not avoid it. I need to let it trigger me and interrogate that trigger, ask it why it's triggering me, and get to the core fear. And so that's what I'm going to do. Instead of avoiding chaos, I'm going to start practicing chaos. So then watched a little Star Trek Enterprise and did a little light reading and kind of just passed out because I had a big agenda for the next day. So woke up early, had my morning ritual, had some breakfast, and went on a walk, and I wrote down the things that I saw and noticed on my walk because I thought, hey, these things might be symbolic. In some way, something in my unconscious mind is resonating with these things. So I noticed all of the death and rebirth, like we are on the verge of things actually, weather and seasons are weird right now. So there's a lot of still dead leaves, bare trees, but then there is a ton of green. Lots of holly everywhere, berries popping out, vines climbing trees that all look like brand new life. So death and rebirth. I saw this snow formation that I swear reminded me of a body like someone's torso and head, and it's like they're coming out of the grave. And I kind of got that as this idea of emerging from the underworld, like emerging from the unconscious. Like that's stuff that's happening for me this weekend. Crossroads, liminal spaces, portals. I walked through an arbor and just kind of imagined that as transitioning from some old to new. I saw circles. I saw a heart. I saw deer just having a good time. I saw this tiny bird. Just watch this bird kind of, couldn't have been even big enough to fill the palm of my hand, just kind of skittering around on the ground. I watched that bird for probably 3 minutes. Crows. There were lots of crows last year, lots of crows this year. There's this road that when you're coming in, there's a sign that said road narrows to a single lane. And I got this strong impression of focus and clarity from that. Like that's part of what this weekend is about. I watched water flowing under a bridge for a while. Of course, the sun was out. I saw these walls that were kind of crumbling, and I got this notion of tearing down walls. I saw a lot of orange, which is, sacral chakra related to creativity, big theme of this weekend. I saw a bunch of crosses. This is a religious Christian retreat center. And I saw this brick that had the letters D on it, and I'm not sure what DE means, but something told me to pay attention to it. So it'll probably come out sometime in the future. I've learned to not question these things. So then I came back and spent a couple hours working. I've been studying a new, it's kind of a prescribed path. It's called the Pentacle Path, and it's in a book called Elemental Witchcraft, and there's an associated online course that I'm working my way through. It's taught by Hermitage Michelle. And yeah, I'm learning a ton from that, because what it's really doing, and this will become more clear as I get into my intentions, it's really showing me that someone else has done an integration of a lot of the things that I'm trying to integrate. And so I'm learning from that integration and making it my own. And so then I spent the bulk of the day reading through journals starting from May 22nd, 2023, up until the present day. And that was a wild ride. And I reflected on those, and I took a bunch of notes, and ultimately I put myself back into a lot of those situations, and I felt the things that I was feeling. And I saw the ways in which my perception of the world has changed, how I deal with things differently, how I have started to integrate shadow in such a way that my ego has less control over me. I'm less attached to the various personas that I wear, and really getting in touch with my unconscious mind and getting in touch with the archetypes of the collective unconscious through all of the things that I've been working on in the last year. Of course, one of the things that I noticed was that I set intentions, of course, in 2024, and I'd actually completed most of those intentions already within the first quarter. So I think I actually aimed a little low, and I'm going to aim quite a bit higher this year. So that took me a solid probably 4 hours to really go through that. While I was doing it, I started feeling some resistance, like maybe I'm spending too much time on this, but I felt like it was really important to complete that work and to really just go on that journey and in some ways leave it in the past so that I can focus on going forward, but also to find the things that I was working on that I didn't fully integrate that I believe are valuable and I want to integrate now. So then I moved into two activities that are based in new skills and modalities that I've learned. The first was a session of active imagination. And this active imagination was focused on what is it that I want to create this year. And it took place in a conference room. So I want to just kind of narrate a little bit of what happened during that active imagination session. So I'm holding a scroll containing a vision for what I want to create in 2025. And I enter this elevator on the 10th floor and begin to descend to the first floor. And this is like descending into psyche. The elevator is this bright silver metal with these faux wood accents, almost like tiger's eye in color. The elevator panel has these green lights, like an old calculator LCD display. And when the doors open, I step off into a vast conference room. It is primarily orange brown. It's honestly, it's this color of this orange calcite right here, which is my favorite stone to kind of call in creativity. Of course, there's the tiger's eye on my ring. So the elevator was very definitely the tiger's eye color, but this was the color of the conference room. And there's this massive table in the middle that spans really the entire length of the room, and it's got these sharp edges, and I drew a picture of it that you can kind of see if you're looking at the video. And above it, there's this pyramid of I screwed up drawing it right here. I got a little bit better here, but it had these lights that were shining down on the table. And of course, part of the guided imagination was to interact with the archetypes. And so many archetypes are in the room. We have the Anima, which for me is a warrior queen in white with a gold crown. If you remember the cartoon She-Ra, looks kind of like her. The Animus, which for me is like the comic book character Batman Joker, but with much more of a femme presentation. Then we have two of the wise old men. One is like Gandalf, except in purple robes and a purple hat. And then we have number two, which is like Obi-Wan Kenobi from the original Star Wars. And then we have Trickster, who for me is Yoda. And then we have the father and the mother. And these are both, for me, like off of tarot cards from the Rhythm and Soul Tarot. So in that deck, the Emperor is the Papa and the Empress is the Mama. And those cards represent in my psyche those two archetypes. Then there was the King of Pentacles, who represents a friend of mine, the Tin Man robot that I think is from it's like that robot character from that series Futurama, which I don't even watch, but for some reason they are there. And then there's also a bunch of other random cartoon. I don't know why my psyche is so based on cartoon characters, but it is. So the Anima is in control of the room, but she defers to me to take over, and I greet everyone with like this namaste pose, and then I unroll the scroll and spread it out, and it covers the entire table, and I begin presenting my vision to the group. And then I start hearing words just in kind of like with my mind's ears. So things like podcast and writing, membership group, community, events, coaching clients, a waiting list for my coaching services. And so then the meditation asks us, who are our supporters? And the Anima is a strong supporter of this, but it turns out to be wise old man number one. This is that purple Gandalf figure who promises to help me the most with implementing my ideas. And I get secondary promises of support from Trickster, the Tin Man robot, wise old man number two, Obi-Wan, and the King of Pentacles. And the latter three archetypes, they bring up this notion that I have had come in off and on over the years. Oh, wow. Like there was this really huge gust of wind just now and snow flew off the roof of this place and started swirling like a tornado. It was really cool. Moving right along. In an intersectional professional identity, like, I really conduct myself as two different people online. There is the technologist, Matt, and there is the mystic, spiritual, tarot reader, astrologer, yada, 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 Matt. And I have wanted to bring those two together in some way. And so these archetypes tell me, yeah, you need to do that, and we're going to help you do that. So, and then they also mention things like introducing artificial intelligence and machine learning to my professional brand, which is something that I now do as a job, surprisingly enough. And I'm actually really quite enjoying that. Bringing my coaching business to LinkedIn, bringing technology somehow to Falcon's Labyrinth. Like, there's a lot of stuff there that I feel like my unconscious mind wants me to integrate. Two of the archetypes are resistant. So first, the Animus, this Joker character, and he's just kind of like sulking in the corner, like saying, I just don't like it. And then there's the inner critic, who for me is like this bald, very stuffy school principal, right? He's wearing a tie, he's got the pocket protector, and he's just got this mean look on his face. And he says, you're just not good enough to do this stuff that you want to do. Well, the other archetypes come to my defense against the inner critic, and they basically silence him. I decide to deal with the Animus, and I look at the Animus and I say, you will like it. Trust me. And they kind of nod and assent. And so as I begin to leave this room, I thank all of the archetypes, and I invite my supporters to continue messaging me in dreams and fantasies like active imagination. And so then this really cool thing happens. I start reading my future testimonials, and I read things like, Matt helped me, Matt changed my life, Matt guided me through my spiritual crossroads, which is a concept that's come to me a lot in the last few days. Matt showed me how to navigate liminal space. Matt coaches from their highest self and shows you how to connect with your own. Matt helped me confront my shadows. So I don't know where these testimonials came from, but I heard them and I read them and I recorded them because I want to call these things in. And so then I wave to everyone and they wave back. Another namaste, and I re-enter the elevator and I rode to the 10th floor, and then I opened my eyes and I wrote this stuff down. So that was powerful because I wrote down what I experienced, but what you're not getting is the feeling and the emotion. Like, the whole time this was going on, I had this really just euphoria, this feeling of power that I was really getting in touch with. So next, after I took a break, I decided to do a couple of, let me get this other journal here, oracle card spreads related to what I went through. And so the first one that I did, I used the Work Your Light oracle, and I created a spread where I basically laid out the archetypes that supported me in the active imagination. And I asked each one of them, what message you have for me? And so for the Anima, I pulled the Pleiades card. For the Wise Old Man #1, I pulled the Warrior Woman card. For Trickster, You're Already Doing It. Wise Old Man #2, Unbounding. Tin Man Robot, Answer the Call. And King of Pentacles was the Council of Light. And so what did I get from this? Well, from the Anima, I got that my mission is to grow at a soul level and raise the vibration of the planet, to share new consciousness through creation and technology, and to be an influencer. From Wise Old Man #1, my Gandalf character, have you answered your soul's deepest calling? Face your fear and cultivate courage. From the Trickster, stop overthinking everything. Don't worry about your speed. Trust the process and keep doing what you're doing. from Wise Old Man number 2 or Obi-Wan. It's time to release everything that no longer serves you. Set yourself free. You hold the keys and move on from your south node. From the 10-Man Robot, say yes to what your soul is calling you to do. Create that intersectional professional identity. You don't have to have a perfect plan. Just take the first step. And from the King of Pentacles, call in your deities, ancestors, spirit guides, and archetypes to help you along the way. They stand ready to answer your call. So that spread really felt powerful. And then for my second one, I decided to work with the Seasons of the Witch Imbolc Oracle. And I did the candle dressing spread from that guide because I wanted to do a spread around clarity. So when I was pulling cards before the retreat and I asked kind of where my focus should be, it was creation and clarity. And most of what I've been doing has been focused on creation. And so I wanted to kind of balance that out with some focused work on clarity. And so this spread is 4 cards. Where am I lacking clarity? What prevents my finding clarity? How do I overcome this block? And how do I prevent confusion and doubt moving forward? So for the first one, where am I lacking clarity? I pulled Bridget's Doll. For what prevents my finding clarity, I got the Winter Woodlands. How do I overcome this block? I got Dream Realm. And how do I prevent confusion and doubt moving forward? I got Aquarius. And so what I pulled from the spread was Bridget's Doll is telling me I lack clarity around trusting the process and taking one step at a time. Good, even great things are coming. I felt this was an echo of the you're already doing it in the previous spread. Part of what prevents me finding clarity is refusing to listen to myself, feeling my feelings, or honoring my needs. Instead, I usually listen to the inner critic, and I need to stop doing that. Don't listen to them. To overcome this block, I need to stop seeing chaos as something to fear. So why am I leading into chaos? Because of this. See it as an opportunity to embrace and exploit. And then, how do I prevent confusion moving forward? Fortune favors the bold. Don't listen to naysayers within or without. When in doubt, take the risk and trust your inner vision to steer you well. That was the work that I did yesterday. And so this morning, I decided to craft some intentions based on that work. And so I'm going to go through those, and then I'm going to wrap this up and head out because we're getting close to 30 minutes on this recording. So my intentions for this year: 1, I want to write some kind of coherent and cohesive piece. I don't know if it's an article, a book, paper, what, that explains my integration of modern witchcraft, Hermeticism, resonance, Jungian psychology, and all the things. I kind of want to write my spiritual manifesto for where I'm at right now, because I feel like I just have a lot of ideas scattered around, and I want to bring them together into a system that makes sense to me. 2, I want to create a very clear picture for myself and a plan of where I want my technology career to go, and if and when I want it to end and move on to something else. I've had this sense for a while that I want to change professions. And when I got laid off last year, part of me felt like that was kind of forcing me to jump into the deep end right away and make that transition. And I did move forward a lot, but now I found myself back in a technology leadership role, and I'm really enjoying it. And I feel like I'm equipped for it. And I feel like all of the learning that I have done over the last 2 years and the things that I've integrated have prepared me to do a better job at this than I ever would have before. So I feel like I'm in the right place, and it's going to allow me to take a longer view and a more sustainable pace through a lot of this transitional work. So I now want to say, okay, well, if that's true, then what do I want that to look like? How many years do I want to keep doing this? What do I want to do during those years? How do I want to grow this career? How do I want to change this career? I want to get very, very clear about that. So there's that clarity theme again. 3, I'm going to establish that intersectional professional identity that integrates all aspects of myself and my interests. I have been resisting doing that. I don't know what it looks like. I'm going to figure it out. 4, become comfortable with chaos and creative destruction / destructive creation. Lean into integrating chaos magic into my practice. And one detailed way of doing that is I want to create at least one sigil per week this year. In the class that I was listening to, the teacher said that he created probably 100,000 sigils in his lifetime of like 32 years or something. And I'm like, okay, well, sounds like one sigil a week is probably reasonable. He sounds like he's creating multiple per day. I don't think I need to start there, but it would be really cool if I created 52 sigils over the next year. 6, create a coaching practice / program that integrates all of the modalities that I use, whether that's tarot, astrology, Jungian techniques, other things, into a cohesive whole and offer that. So I have felt like I'm this person who offers a lot of different things. I can do tarot readings. I can do astrology readings. I can do coaching. I can do this. I can do that. I know those things come together. That's why I'm interested in them. That's why I want to use them all. But I want to turn that into a single program that integrates those modalities rather than treating them as separate things and then somehow trying to feel my way through that integration. I want to be very intentional about it and create that practice that is uniquely mine. And then I want to work with at least 5 ideal clients in that program this year. I kind of pulled 5 out of nowhere. It's a 5-year for me in numerology, so we're going with that. And I want to really get to know even better than I feel like I do right now who that ideal client is, so that I can call them in and market to them and bring them to my practice. 8, I want to intentionally lean into a deeper practice of daily meditation and work on developing my intuition and psychic abilities even more. One of the things that I noticed going through my journals is there was a time when I was really leaning into just pulling visions and feelings out of my psyche and then letting the cards interpret that as opposed to just going straight to the cards. And don't get me wrong, I use my intuition and unconscious symbols and archetypes all the time reading the cards, but I want to start leaning into my own impressions more and then going back to using divination tools to back that up more intentionally. I mean, I've done it a lot lately, but I want to do that more intentionally. 9, I want to intentionally integrate my Gemini midheaven and my leadership archetype of the influencer. So I'm pulling this out of a workshop that I attended recently through Tanae's Applied Astrology Methods program. Tanae obviously is the person who taught me astrology, and I forget the name. Who was it that gave this thing? Rachel Starr. And I believe her specialty is working with the midheaven. So she has developed an archetype for each midheaven, and mine is the influencer. And it really resonates how she describes it. I want to lean into that and integrate that into my professional public persona, which is what your midheaven's all about. 10, I want to collaborate to appear at a total of 6 either summits or someone else's podcast combined. And I really already have half of those scheduled, so well on my way toward that, but I want to do twice as many as I've got planned. I also want to host 6 of my own webinars. Not really sure what those are going to be about, other than that they're going to relate back to that integrated set of modalities, that coaching program that I'm talking about. I want to publish 2 more seasons of the Contemplating Resonance podcast. So season 3 and season 4. I'm about to finish launching season 2 right now. I want to write at least 2 pieces a month for my email newsletters. At one point, I'd thought about going to just one, and that was going to be the Falcon's Labyrinth, and I was going to have people move from Contemplating Resonance over there, but I've decided I don't want to do that. I like what I'm doing on Substack, and I will probably syndicate some of that content into Falcon's Labyrinth and vice versa. but I kind of decided I just want to continue to lean into those two brands. I feel like they're slightly different things. They complement one another, and all of y'all seem to like contemplating resonance, so we're going to keep it around in the way it is. And then last, kind of pulling all of this stuff together, I want to turn all of this into a community membership and attract at least 10 people to that. And this is kind of built in this notion of I really appreciate when people create spaces or containers that are safe for people to learn and grow and develop. And I benefit from those. And I feel like that if I really accomplish these other intentions that I've laid out, I will have all the pieces to create a space like that myself. And so my stretch goal, my stretch intention for the year is to create that container, create that space where we can interact and grow together. That is the retreat. That's a wrap on the retreat. This was the last thing to do, and this podcast episode is complete. Not sure when I'm going to launch this, either soon or at the end of season 2. Either way, it will come out in the next few weeks, and I want to do my normal sign off. So thanks for listening, and you can subscribe on Substack, Contemplating Resonance, and you'll get all the podcast episodes, the videos. You will get the newsletter, all the pieces that I publish there. I also think, you can get this podcast on, a lot of you seem to listen through Apple, through Spotify, other places, so continue to do that. Please continue to give positive ratings, leave comments, all that fun stuff. It helps the podcast. For now, we're still on Instagram at contemplating.resonance. Don't know how long we're still going to be on Meta with all the things that are going on, but we will be there for now. And with that, I will be signing off, folks, and talk to you soon. And until then, stay resonant, folks.